Buck up, samurai.
We have a city to burn.
Oh, I'm excited. Yeah, I am excited for Cyberpunk 2077. Again, I've never played a Cyberpunk game before, and I like watching Cyberpunk stories. Like, right, there's Cyberpunk stories, there's Cyberpunk stories that, Cyberpunk themed stories that people don't know are Cyberpunk. Like, Predator is Cyberpunk. Like, you can tell in the second movie it is, but in the first movie, you can't tell, but it is set in the Cyberpunk universe. Blade Runner is like the most famous one out of all of them. Blade Runner 2, The Blading, or 2049, which I didn't think was a bad movie. I think people kind of shit on it for not being as good as the first Blade Runner. But honestly, I still like it. I mean, like, you know, despite what Razorfist says, it's like still a good movie. I don't give a fuck. You know what? There's a lot of things he doesn't like that I do like, and there's a lot of things he likes that I don't like, so it's like, who gives a shit? Stay on your side of the grass, man. I'll watch it, but I'll just, let me have my fun, okay? But welcome to Morning Coffees with James. I'm James, and this show you're watching on the beautiful internets is my morning coffee show. And for those who are just coming here for the first time or found me, I do this little coffee show where I discuss anything I want. Either it be politics, video games, movies, television, pop culture, whatever pops in my head. I just talk about it because there's a lot of shit going on in the world today. So, what do we want to talk about? Well, let's start off with like the previous videos I made yesterday. That happened. So yesterday, our work van, the company I work for, my family's business, got the front left side part of the truck got demolished by, well, not demolished, but just fucked up by a food truck, a big ass food truck that was making a turn. And honestly, like, the first thing that came to my mind was, if you couldn't make that turn, then you need to find a new line of work. And a lot of people thought he was running off, and I went down there to make sure he didn't run off and all this stuff, and it looked like he wasn't getting away in time fast. I mean, if he tried, he would be causing more damage to the area. But luckily, East Passyunk, and yes, I didn't say Pussyunk, came in and helped. Everybody saw this and immediately took pictures and filmed the damn thing, and it was interesting to see that because people were kind of coming out of the woodwork to film this. And I kind of like, at first, like, granted, I'm not the biggest fan of cities. I am not a fan of like that congested area. I feel like cities are just kind of like are just not for me. I feel like they're not for me. I can interact in the cities. I can go there. I can mingle. But I'm just not a city person. I prefer the countryside. Give me a nice little cabin, or give me a nice tent or van or something I can live in, and let me just live out there. I would rather live out there in the wilderness. But the country, the city, I'm just not a big fan of. It's just too polluted, too crowded, too hot, too cold. Just not a nice place to live. Especially if you want to, like, people talk about, oh yeah, you can get your own place, and like people have been talking about me getting my own place. I've been to the city. I've done it. I'm like, look, and this is not me being like saying some shit or nothing, but it's just like, I don't want to live in a blue city. I don't want to live in a sanctuary city. That's what Philadelphia is. It's a sanctuary city. And people are talking, oh, you can live there. It's like, no, I don't want to live in Philadelphia. Well, not to say it's a bad city. If you live in the city, go ahead, live there. But I want to live in the country. I want to live in the mountains area, because there I can have at least some freedom. You know what I mean? Like, to go outside, shoot a gun, walk around without my pants, hunt, live off the land, that kind of fun shit. You know, or if I have to go to the store, you know, what would you do for money? I don't know. There's plenty of opportunities up there. You know, chop wood, hunt, you know, build things, you know. I have hands and I can build things, you know. I'm a manual labor kind of guy and I know how to do it. It's, you know, people wanted to say, like, and that's the thing that pisses me off the most. It's like people, you know, think that living in the city is easy, and it's like, I'm done living in the city. I lived in Fox Chase, and I'm like, alright, I had enough. And plus, it's like, I want my own property. I want my own land, you know, a place to call my own. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm done living in a blue state, too, by the way. I'll stay and fight as long as I can to make this a red state, but... And that's another thing, the myth of a red state, like these overzealous religious people. I'm not a religious person, but god dang, it's like, your fear of them is, like, nonsensical. Like, just example, I was in the city, and I saw a guy that said, fuck fascism. You know, and had like he had like a swastika on a shirt with a no ghost thing on there, the no European no thing, and on the back it said fuck Trump, and with an upside down cross. And I'm like, yo, you don't like fascism, but Satanism is your go-to thing. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, but you know, you're giving me mixed messages. Fuck fascism, but I support another evil. It's like, It's like, why? And that doesn't make any sense. And it's like, again, no politics this time. And by the way, I'll tell you at the end of the video, but anyhow, I like the fact that Passyunk was kind of like a good community, because like they started filming this, and I feel like, and especially it's a sanctuary city, they know people have been rotten there. They have been rotten there. People have been mistreated in the city of Philadelphia. And shit like that, people stand up. People will unite against bullshit like that and be like, no, this guy's not getting away. You fucked up. I also got the guy's picture on my phone, like his license on my phone, and I'm like, it seemed like he was kind of, I don't want to say a legal immigrant, but it seemed like he wasn't from this country. Unintentionally. Like, some people are not from, you know, I'm not saying like he was, I was saying he's illegal, okay? I'm not, like, you know, people who come from this country, they want to start in the American dream. They want to go through the right systems of doing it. Yes, it's hard, but, you know, it's what it has to be done, you know. It's like, you know, you wouldn't want me to live at your house without your permission and then take a shit everywhere. You want me to go through the process. You want to vent me. You want to figure out who I am, what my income is, and blah, blah, blah. And then we can live together. You know, sure, we'll go through the nonsensical shit of, like, you know, the problems of the sloppiness and all this stuff. But, you know, it's this whole thing that just bugs the shit out of me about the whole, like, you know, oh, well, he's this, and this, and it's like, why then, you know, it just makes no fucking logical sense. It's like, I don't know, but then again, I don't know, I'm not trying to sound like a racist, but, you know, people want to call me a racist because it's like, well, you don't like Mexicans, and you don't like, you know, foreigners. It's like, it's not the fact that I don't like foreigners. It's the fact that I don't like illegal people coming in without without permission, without like the proper channels. This is the problem. This is the issue that Democrats have. You know, not just Democrats. And I'm not shitting on every Democrat out there who, you know, I'm not shitting on those people. I'm shitting on the progressive left, the people who are not classic liberals, who are fascists in their own right, telling people what to do. You know, then also in the same breath asking them to accept them when they can't accept themselves or anybody else. You know, these people who, you know, go around lying through their teeth, you know, lying and bullying people in the name of progress and healing, you know. But, yeah, it was kind of a messy kind of situation that day. But what we want to talk about is, what else do I want to talk about? I gotta take a dump. I'll be right back. Nice, big, old, healthy American dump. First thing in the morning. Brought to you by 2 glasses of water and a nice big old cup of coffee. 2 bags, actually. By the way, everybody, I'm cutting down on my coffee intake, and you should too. And the problem is I've been drinking way too much coffee. I had like 2 cups of coffee and an energy drink, and slowly I'm weaning myself off. And honestly, it's not good for you at the end of the day. Like, coffee is a great drink, and don't get me wrong, people want to talk about, how coffee is, like, everybody has this stigma about coffee. It's like, coffee's bad for you. It's like, yeah, so are drugs and alcohol, but, like, well, also, like, a lot of people don't know this, but coffee's there's people who are addicted to coffee, you know what I mean? It's like, it's, that's the funny thing about addictions, though. It's like people will pick and choose which addictions are okay and which addictions are not. And honestly, it kind of makes me laugh when people do shit like that. It's like, I don't know. It just makes me laugh in that degree because it's like, it's like, addictions are addictions, man. It's like, and plus, with coffee addiction, I don't think people are that upset about it because, coffee addiction, like, addictions to coffee are not super evil because it's not, like, the side effects are not bad, but, like, the withdrawals are awful because you get those awful coffee headaches. Also, I don't know, I'm worn out. Look, Two-Face. Someone draw me. Harvey tells you then. But damn. No, it's kind of funny to see that and to see that community. You know what I mean? What was I talking about? Passion. Yeah, it's great to see that, and honestly, I appreciate when people come together. That's what I love. I love it when, you have people who know they live in a terrible situation, so they just come together and unite over this. And I feel like it's that old saying, strong men create good times create weak men create bad times create strong men, and the cycle continues. I really think, we can't really break that cycle, but we have to remember that maybe we do need, and especially in this day and age with, like, information overload, we have to remember, like, yes, think about your, like, ancestors. Think about your people back in the day who, who died of malaria. Think about your ancestors. They wouldn't appreciate you nowadays doing, like, stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta, like, toughen up nowadays. And I'm not saying we should be, like, rough. We should be, like, tough. You know what I mean? There's a difference. So, yeah. What else do I want to talk about that's been in the news? I do want to talk about other things that have been going on in the world today. I feel like the whole, I think people are starting to, like, the whole coronavirus thing, I think people are starting to get over that, because people are just tired of it. And, the whole, the elderly, like, the whole situation with the old guy, the young black kid beating up the old white dude in the nursing home, which was a very disturbing video. Like, why would you do that? And why would you go to, like, a nursing home and doing that? Like, I feel like that's an agenda right there. Like, I feel like, and I'm not saying they just sent a black guy into there just to, I feel like they sent, like, it could have been anybody, but they sent somebody in there who just didn't have any, like, morals or any moral high ground, and he just went in there and just did whatever the fuck he wanted. And it's like, that is not cool. Like, why would you do that to an elderly person? It's like beating up a child. It's like, why the fuck would you just decide to do that? Or better yet, the whole, like, and I'm not saying, like, I'm not picking on one side here. The cops who fucking, stepped on that one man's neck. I forget his name. I apologize, because I've been worried about other things, too. But, that, and the whole, like, situation with that, we have been kind of divided in this country, and I think we need to come together on both sides. We need to realize that there are certain people, and I'm going to say it, certain people in communities, and you know, not just black communities, white communities, Asian communities. There's people in communities that are causing problems for the rest of us. I mean, like, and then you have policemen, and then you have people who scream, you know, the thin blue line, and then you see policemen doing shit that's making that blue line become thinner and thinner until it's completely invisible, and nobody gives a shit anymore. You're gonna have Trump supporters come out who've been for the, you know, supporting the people who've been supporting the police are gonna start, you know, realizing, wow, you guys are awful. And like, yeah, granted, not every policeman out there is evil. Not every policeman out there is out to be hurting people. Some of them are just trying to do their job and trying to uphold the law, but like, where does the border go? Like, if you have bad cops, I feel like in your group, you should step in and just be like, yo, what is up with you, dude? Like, arrest them. Like, if they start, like, going over their limits, arrest their ass. Like, turn around, cuff that officer and be like, you are overreaching your authority. We have no right to do that. You know, and it's like, again, the same thing. I remember Officer Anderson, the man who basically, you know, told you know, told what he thought about the whole police thing. Like, yo, you're not, you know, we should be speaking out again. We're supposed to uphold the laws, not bust, you know, Samantha for having her hair salon, or Krista for having her hair salon. Hi, Krista. You know, we should. Why are we busting these people for wanting to have their business? And then, like, you have these authoritarian, like, blue state, and not just blue state, but like red state. These people who are just like becoming, you know, feudal states. You know, people are gonna start rising up, and they're gonna start guillotining, you know, politicians. I say we guillotine those guys. Like, start cutting off the heads of these motherfuckers who are overreaching their, you know, power. And granted, people out there are being like, oh, you wanna start a violent revolution. Well, you're pushing that violent revolution. You're pushing it. You keep, you know, doing shit that's just not healthy and just absolutely dangerous. You're not helping the situation at hand. And don't give me this bullshit for safety and safety, because it's not about safety. It's about absolute control and absolute power. And I don't give a what bullshit anybody says. You know, you can have economics tell you it's money. It's about the money. You can have people tell you it's about, you know, controlling the masses. But when it comes down to it, it's about absolute power. Absolute power ultimately corrupts. I mean, have you ever seen the movie The Craft? When Nancy, I forget the actress's name, but she was in Talladega Nights. Not Talladega Nights. Ricky Waterboy with Bobby Boucher. You know, Vicky. She was also in Vice City too as Mercedes. She was also in The Craft, and she played Nancy. Nancy became a power slave. A fucking power slave. I really do want to do a review of The Craft and tell you what I think of that movie. I don't know. Do you want a male to tell you about a female movie, a feminist movie? Oh, it's not a feminist movie. I've seen feminist movie. It's a female-centric movie. But I will say this though, it's a lesson to learn about how unlimited power can corrupt unlimitedly. It's scary. But I will say this. I know I've been talking about politics way too much, and this is the announcement I want to make at the end of this video. I'm going to be taking a break, a couple of weeks off, to work on my next video project, which is Dreams About My Brother, and I want to do some editing with that and do some camera tricks with that, so it's going to be... It's not going to be easy, but I'm going to try to do it. I'm going to try to do this video project in the sense. So I want to try to get it out there. And I've been holding it off for a while because we've been busy with other objects. I've been busy with work and stuff like that, and my home life and stuff, and trying to get certain things done and trying to get certain projects done. And I'm going to take, and again, like, What do you mean? This is an easy thing for you to do. You may be thinking, but you're right, but you're also kind of like, you're also kind of wrong in a sense too, because it's just tough trying to get up in the morning and trying to get this done, and you know, depending on how late I get or how late I sleep in, it's like it's kind of hard. And plus, my camera is a piece of shit camera. It's not a bad camera. It's just not a film camera. So I'm gonna try to earn some money to get a camcorder and to film these projects. So I'm not like fucking around with it. And I really do want to do this. And I want to try to figure out why my phone is not producing any images when I upload. Because here's the thing: when I film this and I try to upload it to my computer, no audio, no visual is shown, but the audio I can hear. So I might have to get an SD card for this and do that. I might have to clean out my computer too. I think it's also that. But at the end of the day, I have to do some cleaning. I have to do some virtual cleaning, as the saying goes. Yeah, I think that's like an issue I have to do. It's like I have to clean out my PC. So yeah, it's gonna be rough, but you know, well, it's not gonna be rough. It's gonna be, you know, it's gonna take some time to do and all that stuff. So, but no, if I have to, I'll make a little small like vignette video, so it's not like, again, I've been trying to be under 20 minutes, you know, tops 15. The minimum would be 15, but the tops would be 20. But I'm gonna try to make like 10-minute videos, just bullshitting, if I can. If on certain days where I have to say shit, you know. But you know, there's always things going on, and I just looked at everything that was going on, and I just had to like step the fuck back. You know what I mean? And just be like, okay, I gotta stop watching the news. I gotta stop watching. And then again, we're in a pivotal moment. I mean, like right now, where people. By the way, quick note: I'm not gonna get vaccinated. No. I don't care if this is if it's for the benefit, if it's for the greater good. You know, the needs. I don't care if the needs of the few outweigh the need. I don't care if the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. I don't care. Like, and I just, not to say I'm an anti-vaxxer, not to say I don't believe in the science of vaccinations, but we've been kind of accepting them into our bodies without real questions being asked. Like, okay, what's in these? What are the ingredients? You know, why are people freaked out and talking about them having aluminum and all these metals in them? Why are you forcing them down our throats and making them like, you know, don't we have the choice of my body, my choice, like as like the pro-choicers would say? You know, it's, you know, I would rather figure out what's in it and then say, okay, I'm not gonna have this in my body. I don't want this in my body whatsoever. And that's a choice we should all make. And I mean, like, look, let me work on my health my way and not let the government control every aspect of my life because they had scientists. Which, by the way, let's be honest about science. You spent $4 million, and I'm going to say, and this is kind of a true fact, $4 million on research that makes no fucking sense and has no effect on anything anymore, you know. Which, you know, they spend $4 million studying the farting effects of ducks, you know, going south of east of the equator, and the, you know, the velocity of a sparrow carrying a coconut through Africa, you know, is it European or, you know, African? And it's like, what difference does that make? What about real science? What about Elon Musk, you know? And also, just let the free market do it. Like, let, like, people who have like stake in this, like not government who's getting their money from people and they can fuck up all they want. No, get like industries to do this. This is why people talk about this, and it's like, oh, you're just a capitalist. It's like, yeah, I do believe in capitalism. So do you. Because why do you keep going to Starbucks to buy a goddamn cup of coffee? Why do you buy that fucking phone, that $5,000 phone? Going a little extreme there. That $400 phone. You know, you claim you're socialist or a communist, but you've never experienced real socialism. You never experienced real communism. And I have never experienced it, but with this lockdown shit, I've experienced it. I've experienced it tenfold. And I'll tell you this much, no, I am not voting for another Democrat, not as long as I live, but I'm not voting for the Democrats right now. I am not voting for more blue state bullshit. I'm not voting for this whole, authoritarian governments anymore. Like, this is red pilling people, by the way. You think people are gonna just go willy-nilly Democrat? I'm sorry, people are just digesting that red pill like it's going out of style. Like, and I'll tell you this much, it's never going out of style, because people are becoming awake, and I have taken the red pill, and I've put on the glasses, and I've looked at everything going on. So yeah, that was a reference to both two great movies, The Matrix and They Live. Put on the glasses, which I suggest people watch. I forget the guy's name, but he talks like this. He talks with an Eastern European accent, with this little lisp there, and he talks about he's talking about the scene where Keith Davidson and Roddy Piper are having that long 8-minute fight, and people talk about how ridiculous that scene is, but he breaks it down, and the movie's called A Pervert's Guide to Ideology, and he talks about like the meaning behind the fight. It's really just a physical manifestation of a conversation trying to convince somebody to see the truth, to like wake people up. Like, imagine, like, remember in The Matrix, like, here's another analogy. In The Matrix, you had the Smiths. They just took over somebody in that movie. Now you may say that's, like, kind of a freaky thing. You'd be, like, sitting in your home one day and, like, all of a sudden, like, you're outside and it's like, what happened? It's like somebody just took you over. Well, Smiths do exist in the real world. It's people who... And again, it's not the taking over and your man wearing a suit. It's the ideology of, like, the idea behind that is somebody, like, when you give somebody information or, like, this kind of, information that disagrees with their viewpoints, they will resist it and fight it. Because they want to stick to that lie that they've been known all their life. It's like, no, this is the truth. This is the truth. They want to hold on to it because that's the only thing that's secure. But once you give them that truth, they will resist it. And in Smith is an allegory for that. Is that whole like, no, I got to fight this because I'm part of the system. I want to be part of the system. I want to be secured in this. And once you let go of that, it's like, no, I don't want to be part of the system anymore. The same thing with that fight scene. That entire fight scene was an allegory for somebody to just put on the glasses. Think about it. Roddy Piper wants Keith Davis to put on the glasses, and he's trying to fight him for that. The whole fight scene is about him exposing the truth. It's not if you looked at it as a comical thing, then you're missing the point of that whole scene. That whole scene, it's just summed up to like somebody trying to reveal the truth and doing it by force. That's it. And doing it not by force, but like having this like resistance to it. And it's like sometimes the truth hurts. That's at the end of it, where they're beaten up and they're in the motel room, and they go, "Ain't life grand? Ain't love grand?" And they're just beat up because the truth hurts. I mean, hell, the scene where Roddy Piper first figures out the glasses thing. He's shocked. He's shocked and all, like, seeing the real truth. He's disgusted. He's scared. That's scary, because when you see, like, a sign that says obey when you put on the glasses, and you take them off, and it's just an ad for computers, but you put them on again, it says obey, or marry and reproduce, and then you take them off, and it's that, go to the Caribbean, and there's a 10 model up there, flaunting herself. You're like, oh shit. And it's like you're seeing other things too, and you see, by the way, I have a theory about the people in They Live. I don't think they were aliens, but like they could have been aliens, but I think they were interdimensional beings. Like, these were people who've been corrupted from the inside out, because they look like ghouls rather than aliens, like any conventional alien, like, because they have no lips. They look like they've been exposed to enough god amount of radiation and didn't have the good fortune to die. The Matrix Now, those are two great movies about, like, exposing the truth, like The Matrix and even X-Files, like, you know, how we've been manipulated and controlled into buying and selling. I mean, hell, does anybody remember the whole, you know, why there's DuckDuckGo and Bing, and why people are freaked out by people selling the information to you? Like, you know, you'd be typing up something about, you know, dogs, and all of a sudden you get 20 ads about dog foods and dog this and dog that. I mean, hell, when I was freaked out about, a lot of people may not know it or seen in my other videos, I have thinning up my hair area. I fixed that problem. I'll explain that in about 14 days. I was just freaked out. I was like, what's going on here? Is it genetics? Is it something I can control? Is it something I'm eating? And I looked at it, and so I figured out the problem, what it was, but I was freaked out. But then all of a sudden, Rogaine ads started popping up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, you know, or ads of, like, certain things would start popping up that was, like, weightlifting equipment. And all of a sudden, I'd be getting more ads about weightlifting equipment and stuff like that and shit like that. They are trying to manipulate you into buying things. And it's like, it's a true thing. It's an absolute true thing. You know, and I feel like we need to resist these technocrats trying to control our lives. Like, you need to wake up and see this. You need to realize that Mark Zuckerberg doesn't have your best interest. Jack Dorsey doesn't have your best interest. Susan Wojcicki, the owner of the CEO of YouTube, doesn't have your best interest. Bardej Dujamaji, the CEO of Google, doesn't have your best interest. You know, Google's thing of don't be evil. That, you know, excuse me, is that it's like Darth Vader telling me don't be a bad person. I'm sorry, but Google is evil. Google is straight up fucking evil. And the banning of Alex Jones is an example of that. They were just so afraid of this one man screaming about gay frogs that they had to take him down. Oh, well, he's a Nazi. You know what? I've heard that he was a like, when the first time, like, you know, Alex Jones popped up, I only saw the memes. I only saw the memes that kept repeating over and over again. It wasn't until I actually figured, like, just studied Alex Jones and just watched one episode, 4-hour episode of InfoWars. I have not heard a single racist thing come out of his fucking mouth. Some very prolific shit, some very inspirational shit, some wacky lunatic shit that's just funny to see him just go on these very spiritual rants and that are just uplifting and more uplifting than the Ultimate Warriors ones. But nothing racist. Nothing racist. In fact, hell, some of the shit I question, you know, some of them got answered, you know, just, you know, how people kind of look at you if you're reading something differently, or if, like, you know, it opened my eyes to the world. And yeah, there's been times I had to, like, step back from Alex Jones. There's some things I disagree with them on, a lot of things, especially with, like, video games. A lot of people have been shitting on video games on both sides of the fence. Some people say they're, like, they're a male fantasy, or, you know, or the male fantasy, which, by the way, feminists, get the fuck away from video games. Alright, I'm sorry your boyfriend is not spending time with you and he's playing Call of Duty. Don't ruin everybody else's fun because your boyfriend's an asshole. If you want to get his attention, take your clothes off and stand in front of the fucking TV. That's how you win that argument. That's how you interrupt the conversation of video games. That's what it is. Video games are a conversation. You know, and the reason why we escape into them, and we're tired of seeing the SJW feminist agenda being shoved in there via The Last of Us and the whole censorship. Also Mortal Kombat 11, is the fact that we just want to escape reality. Reality sucks. I'm sorry, there's no, like, 10 out of 10 models, you know, in skimpy outfits fighting each other, or anything like that. We just want to escape reality for a fucking little while. And I'm sorry, The Last of Us is an overrated piece of shit game. It just doesn't look that appealing. It's just I'm sorry, but there's plenty of better post-apocalyptic games out there. Fallout, for example, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. Fallout 76 is a fun game. I had fun. So back the fuck up. Bethesda, sort your fucking shit out. You're a good game company. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it. Far Cry 5. Not post-apocalyptic, but it's fun. Metro 2077, fun game. There's plenty of games out there that are just fun, better than The Last of Us. The only reason that you love The Last of Us is because it has a deep and engaging story. It's like, fuck yourself. And I get it. There's two types of gamers out there. There are the gamers who just want video games to be video games, and those who want video games to be seen as art. I get both arguments, and I'm on both sides. The problem is you can't convince people who have been indoctrinated to think, video games are not art, via Robert Ebert. And yes, this is a guy, and I don't give a shit anymore what he says. He's dead. Alright? And granted, there's been people out there who have been, for against it, and there's been good video games to show you the art. And if you study video games like I do, watching the progression from, say, and again, I'm going to use one of my favorite examples, Grand Theft Auto. The first game, look at the first game to, Grand Theft Auto 5. The first game was just an open world, sociopath's wet dream, and it grew from that. Because somebody made that comment, and it grew from that to when you got to Grand Theft Auto 3, where they had true non-linearity. Where it was like, okay, you have a mission where you have to kill somebody, and you can do it any way you want. It started developing stories and characters and people you could relate to and not relate to, and environments you can get engaged and get immersed into those worlds. Rockstar developed over the ages, and especially while looking at the 3 PlayStation games, PlayStation 2 era games, Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, you can see that progression they made trying to make those games better. You look at Mario Brothers, the progression of that too. It started out with this weird blocky world which was just so basic, and then it became more detail when you get to say Mario Brothers 3. Again, I don't want to use the example I always love to use. Already at Fallout. Fallout's a great example. People love the original Fallout games, the